mentioned, yes, we have a quite a list of remarkable people who colleagues of Dr. Saha who are here. Some of them not here. They send us video links. I will show you links videos one by one. I'm very much thankful to you, all of you, sending these videos, and also some of you are joining the live session today. Let me go with one by one. Okay, first is Dr. Laura Mcconnell and also the Professor Mary Garrison. Dr. Laura, she's a Bayer Science Fellow and Executive Committee member of IUPAC and former President of IUPAC Division of Chemistry and the Environment. And Professor Mary Garrison of Australia, she is an Emeritus Professor, School of Chemistry and Molecular Biosciences, the University of Queensland, Australia. And now she's also a IUPAC Bureau member. Let's hear them out. Just let me open their video. Please stand by.
Hello, I'm Emeritus Professor Mary Garrison from the University of Queensland in Australia.
Hi, and I'm Dr. Laura Mcconnell from Bayer Crop Science, based in North Carolina, USA. Mary, you and I have had the pleasure of working alongside our Indian colleague and friend, Dr. Bipul Saha, for several years, and let's together summarize some of his many accomplishments to the International Union of Pure and Applied Chemistry for the Eminent Personality webinar of TechnoBiz.
Yes, I first met Dr. Saha about 4 years ago at the General Assembly held in Brazil. And at that time, he was appointed a titular member, and he was the secretary of the Committee on Chemistry and Industry, the first Indian scientist to hold those positions within that important IUPAC committee. He also became involved in the Interdivisional Committee on Green Chemistry for Sustainable Development.
But before that, he has been an associate member, a national representative of Division 6, that's the Division for Chemistry and the Environment, where he always worked to bring an industry viewpoint to discussions. And even now in 2021, he's working energetically on projects such as systems thinking and chemistry, contributions of IUPAC projects to the UN Sustainable Development Goals, and green industrial processes.
Yeah, so those are really excellent contributions, but let me also comment about some engagement activities. In India, Dr. Saha has organized a large number of programs in the university and school sector during the centenary celebrations of IUPAC that were held in 2019. And of course, those celebrations were held alongside the International Year of the Periodic Table. I think that two IUPAC events are worth mentioning. First of all, he encouraged many Indian students to take the Periodic Table Challenge. And then also in 2019, networking breakfast events were held as part of a Global Women's Breakfast Program. And in that year, he arranged 5 such breakfast events in India.
And under his leadership, Dr. Saha has helped to promote the Global Breakfast series within India since then. In 2020, there were 8 breakfasts in India, and for 2021, a total of 61, the largest number of events held within any of the more than 70 countries that participated.
So we can be sure that many hundreds, if not thousands, of Indian students will have joined in that networking activity. But let me finish by commenting also that for 2020 to 2023, Dr. Saha has been a member of the Bureau of IUPAC, one of 10 such elected positions globally. And in that role, he has been a productive member of the important project committee. He has also facilitated links between IUPAC and the Indian Chemical Council.
Yes, we really want to thank Dr. Saha for being a wonderful ambassador for India within IUPAC and we both congratulate him on this excellent professional recognition from TechnoBiz. Thank you.
Indeed, congratulations.
Wow.
Thank you, Laura.
Nice message.
Thank you, Laura and Mary, for those kind words. So I've been interacting closely with them for several years. Laura and Mary are the most dynamic ladies I have ever met. They are versatile, handling many responsibilities together and simultaneously. Both of them are bureau members and co-organizers of IUPAC Global Women's Breakfast Program, which has been very successful. When I wanted to build a relationship between IUPAC and Indian Chemical Council, both of them supported strongly. In fact, Mary participated in the meeting with the Indian Chemical Council representing IUPAC. Thank you, Laura and Mary, for your kind comments, and I look forward to working with you in many IUPAC projects in the future.
Thank you, Dr. Saha. So we have one more guest here, the Professor Christopher Brett from Portugal. He's the president of the IUPAC, which is, as you know, is the largest global organic chemistry. He has shared his message as a video. Let me run for you, please.
Distinguished participants in the Eminent Personality webinar dedicated to Dr. Bipul Saha. Ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. My name is Christopher Brett, and I have been president of the International Union of Pure and Applied Chemistry, IUPAC, for the biennium 2020-21. We are a global resource for chemistry and count on the willingness of many expert scientists to help address issues of consensus on standards, exchange of data, and fomenting sustainable development in the chemical sciences at the worldwide level. It is an honor and pleasure for me to talk a little about Dr. Saha's activities within the framework of IUPAC. He started his collaboration with IUPAC in the Committee on Chemistry and Industry in 2016 as an associate member, and in which he is now secretary. It was a natural beginning, given his career in industry. We very much value our links with industry. As examples of his involvement since then, in 2018, he became a national representative of India in the Division on Chemistry and the Environment, and on the Interdivisional Committee on Green Chemistry for Sustainable Development, and now in Cameroon. He was elected as a member of IUPAC Bureau for the term 2020 to 23 by our governing body, the Council. Bureau acting on behalf of Council and overseeing IUPAC activities between Council meetings. He has taken part in many IUPAC projects on themes from sustainable development through to education and outreach, looking towards the future. In 2019, the International Year of the Periodic Table, IYPT, Dr. Saha promoted many activities in India for professionals, the academic community, and children. The enthusiasm of the participants was clear from the reports that he wrote, both in the photographs and in the texts. This was widely appreciated by IUPAC, both the number and quality of events, and he was asked to make a presentation in the closing ceremony of IYPT in Tokyo in December 2019 on these events held in India. The IUPAC Global Women's Breakfast, GWB, events in India have also been promoted and organized by Dr. Saha in 2020 and 2021. In fact, India hosted the largest number of GWB events in the world in 2021. Cooperation between IUPAC and the Indian Chemical Council has been promoted, as well as with the Indian Chemical Society and the Association of Chemistry Teachers in India. Dr. Saha clearly enjoys his work with IUPAC, and IUPAC enjoys and has been lucky to have the benefit of his enthusiastic collaboration and efforts in the promotion of chemistry. his contribution to IUPAC has been wide. The world faces serious challenges trying to satisfy the need for sustainable development whilst addressing the problems of climate change. Dr. Bipul Saha has certainly made a significant contribution to making society aware of this and showing the chemistry that can be used as part of the solution. I'm sure that he will continue to do so. So many congratulations, Bipul, on your selection as an eminent personality, which is certainly much deserved. Thank you very much.
Well, thank you, Chris, for giving your valuable time to participate in this webinar. Chris is was the president of IUPAC till last December, and he has made immense contribution to make IUPAC a dynamic organization. He has brought in a lot of changes which will make IUPAC more agile and dynamic in coming years. Chris is dedicated to and committed to IUPAC. In spite of his demanding academic schedule, he makes it a point to attend all meetings of different divisions and committees, and his contribution to IUPAC cannot be measured just in any way. So I thank Chris for taking out his valuable time and say in this webinar. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Saha. Now we have another Professor Hamda Garlick. She's from UK. She's a professor of the Environmental Science and Public Health Education at Middlesex University, London. She was also the former president of the IUPAC Division of Chemistry and Environment, and she's also the IUPAC Bureau member. Let me show you her video.
Good afternoon, colleagues, and thank you for inviting me to say a few words in this very important event of eminent personality webinars. Just to introduce myself quickly, I'm Professor Hamda Garlick. I'm an environmental science professor from Middlesex University in London, UK. I'm also very focused on chemistry and the environment as the president of the Division of Chemistry and Environment in the International Union of Pure and Applied Chemistry. I have a long interest in public health and environmental health, and particularly in relation to contaminants, both chemical and microbial, in water and soil. Just to show you the division that we last met in Paris in person, and here I am, and here Dr. Saha, who is a focus of my very short talk today, because this is about Dr. Saha, who is receiving his Eminent Scientist Prize, and we are all very proud of him. When I look at my view of Dr. Saha, I can see a number of fields that he is very important in. The first one, coming from industry, he is a promoter of rigorous science in the agricultural industry. And that's quite clear for all our interaction with him. He's an advocate of environmental principles in agricultural practice, which is really important for our division, and a champion for sustainability and diversity in the chemical sciences. And of course, he is a strong supporter of IUPAC, and I hope a friend as well. So we first got to know each other in 2014 in San Francisco at the IUPAC Pesticide Chemistry Congress, where he has given a talk. And He was involved in the subcommittee in the division, and as a result also became a member of the Committee of Chemistry and Industry in 2016. Now he is the secretary of that committee, demonstrating the input that he's putting into that. With his promotion of understanding and rigorous research in the crop protection, he was involved in a number of crop protection chemistry congresses and conferences, and he was a driving force in the development, which we hope the 15th IUPAC International Congress of Crop Protection Chemistry that will be held in 2023 in India. But uniquely in the industry, he has a lot of understanding on environmental issues. And because of that, he also joined the division in 2018. This also was driven by his involvement in 2017 in Brazil, in Sao Paulo, which was a special Congress which focused on sustainability and diversity through chemistry. And he was a leading force in that Congress. When I talk about diversity, Dr. Saha has been a leading force in the global women's breakfast that the union has developed, and as a champion, a real champion of diversity. And you can see here that he was a part of the international webinar on that, and also was speaking in the various programs in the Indian meetings. He's also a very strong supporter of IUPAC as an organization, and was very involved in two very important events in 2018 and 19, the 100 years to the establishment of IUPAC and the International Year of the Periodic Table. And you can see here that he's involved with really central, and he is in the center of many of those events. So on a whole, he is a good colleague and a friend, and I thank you very much for listening to me, and I hope to listen to him and his talk in this conference. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you, Hemda. I am simply overwhelmed to see how much effort you have put to prepare that presentation, collecting old photos and including those in these presentations. I may not have all those photos with me. So I have interacted with Hemda since 2014 when I met her in San Francisco in that IUPAC World Congress of Crop Protection Chemistry, and she's an extremely dynamic lady and participates in all meetings in IUPAC Dura. She's one of the vocal speakers and comes out with new ideas. And it has been my pleasure to interact with her for so many years, and I hope to continue our interaction in future. Thank you, Hemda.
Thank you very much. We have another invited guest, Professor Roberto Targiano from Italy. He's a professor at the University of Bari, Italy, and he's also the president of IUPAC Division Chemistry and Environment. Okay, let me share his video.
Hello everybody, my name is Roberto Terzano and I am Professor of Agricultural Chemistry at the University of Bari in Italy. I am the new President of Division 6, Chemistry and Environment of the International Union of Pure and Applied Chemistry, IUPAC. IUPAC is the world authority on chemical nomenclature and terminology, on standardized methods for measurement, and on many other critically evaluated data. Dr. Saha is associate member of Division 6, and he has been engaged in the division since 2018. And I am now very pleased to highlight some of the many activities he is carrying out for IUPAC and to mention the important roles he is covering for the Union. Dr. Saha is Bureau member of IUPAC. IUPAC Bureau is one of the main governing bodies of IUPAC. In addition, he is Secretary and titular member of the Committee of Chemistry and Industry, member of IUPAC Project Committee, and national representative of India in ChemRoad, which is the Committee on Chemical Research Applied to World Needs. He is involved in many important IUPAC projects dealing with topics such as sustainability, microplastics, toxic environmental pollutants, chemistry education, and chemical safety. In 2019, he organized a large number of activities in various cities of India to celebrate the IUPAC centenary and International Year of Periodic Table, which were attended by many students, academicians, and industry professionals. Finally, we are very grateful with Dr. Saha for having successfully built cooperation between Indian Chemical Council and IUPAC and collaboration with the Indian Chemical Society and the Association of Chemistry Teachers of India. Thank you very much, Dr. Saha, for all your work, and thank you all for attention. Bye.
Thank you, Roberto. So I have closely interacted with Roberto in the Division of the Chemistry and Environment. He was earlier the Secretary of the Division of Chemistry and Environment. Subsequently, he became Vice President of that division, and currently, from 2022, he is the President of the IUPAC Division of Chemistry and Environment. During my introduction, I found him to be very prompt, very sincere, and whatever information I have sent to him regarding our activities in India, he has promptly circulated to all the members and actively participated in all the meetings and conferences. So I hope to continue the same relationship with Roberto in coming years. Thank you, Roberto.
Thank you, Dr. Saha. And now we have another invited guest, Dr. Bernard West from Canada. He's the president of the West Works Consulting Limited. He's also former president and the CEO of the Canada Colors and Chemicals. And he's a former chair of board of Canada's Chemical Producers Association, former chair of IUPAC Committee on Chemistry and Industry. He has sent us a video. Let me show you his video.
Hello, my name is Bernard West. I've been involved in the chemical industry for a number of years, and I'm here to congratulate Dr. Saha on his award. We first met when I was chairing the Committee on Chemistry and Industry in IUPAC, which was a number of years ago, and I'm very pleased with the way that he has supported the activities of that committee, of which he is now the secretary. But he supported a number of the initiatives which are important to the committee, the safety training program and the responsible care initiative, which the chemical industry in India is now part of. This worldwide, over 70 countries running responsible care. It's very important. Also, he has contributed valuably to a number of other committees in IUPAC, as well as being elected to the Bureau of IUPAC, which is sort of like the board of directors of IUPAC. So congratulations, Dr. Saha, on your award. I'm looking forward to seeing the contributions that you will continue to make to the International Union of Pure and Applied Chemistry, and I wish you every success in your career in the future. Thank you.
Thank you, Bernard. In fact, Bernard West is the person who has brought me to IUPAC. I first met him in Busan in South Korea when I went to deliver some speech in IUPAC World Congress of Chemistry. And there at that time, he was the IUPAC, he was the chairman of the IUPAC Committee on Chemistry and Industry. Since I was also from the industry, we developed a good rapport. And he took extraordinary step to make me member of IUPAC Committee on Chemistry and Industry. He went through some presidential nomination route. And since then, I have closely interacted with Bernard West, and he has been very active for promoting environment, safety, health, and responsible care in chemical industry. And he has held very senior positions in Canada. He was also the president of the Canadian Chemical Producers Association. So with his long experience, he has guided the chemical IUPAC Committee on Chemistry and Industry for almost a decade. And from there now, we are members of this IUPAC Committee on Chemistry and Industry, and we are taking up this project of environment, safety, and health training programs in many parts of the world. Thank you, Bernard, for your support. And without you, I would not have been in IUPAC. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Saha. We have another invited guest, Dr. Jean Pauling, who is the General Manager of Union of Chemical Industries based in France. He's also a titular member of IUPAC Committee on Chemistry and Industry. He also sent a video to us. Let's let me show that his video.
Hello, everybody. My name is Jean Paulin. I have been General Manager of the Trade and Employers Chemical Industry Association of France for nearly 20 years, thereby heavily involved in international associations such as CEFIC at European level and the ICCA, the International Council of Chemical Associations. I am now a titular member of IUPAC, the scientific community of chemists, namely its Committee on Chemical Industry, COCHI, of which Bipul Saha is the Secretary General. Bipul is actually very active within IUPAC instances. He is a bureau member and a titular member of several divisions and committees. For the last 2 years, I have been interacting with Bipul Saha, and I confirm that I have been impressed by his seriousness, his reliability, and his willingness to get things properly done. Bipul is always looking for new ideas and for pushing initiatives which enable our committee to be as concrete as possible, which is actually very much needed in such a complex organization as IUPAC. I would like to mention in particular the initiative it took by setting up a positive relationship between IUPAC's COCHI and ICC, the Indian Chamber of the Chemical Industry. This results in a MOU between the two organizations. I guess Bipul is also widely recognized as a key contributor within IUPAC's governance. I know this for sure. And last but not least, I am personally very pleased to have him as a working partner. Congratulations to Bipul for this highly deserved recognition.
Thank you, John. I mean, I've been closely interacting with you, and I find you to be very, very active. And I'm particularly thankful to you that for the cooperation between IUPAC and Indian Chemical Council. You played a vital role, and you personally participated in the meeting which we had with Indian Chemical Council 2-3 times. And I am very much happy to work with you, and with you as a partner, I think we can take IUPAC Committee on Chemistry and Industry to a much bigger height. Thank you, John.
Thank you, Dr. Saha. Okay, we have another Saha, Dr. Swapan Saha. Okay, he's an invited guest. He is a former professor of the chemistry, North Bengal University, and also UGC Emeritus Fellow. Recently, he received the Lifetime Achievement Award from Association of Chemistry Teachers of India. Okay, he has sent a video. Let me show you this video.
Hi everyone, I am Dr. Swapan K. Saha. I am a former professor of chemistry and the UGC Emeritus Fellow of University of North Bengal. I have recorded this message about my friend Bipul a few days back. I am sorry for not being physically present today because I have to undergo a minor eye surgery which has been scheduled to be held today. It is really wonderful to talk about somebody like Bipul, who is my very good friend for a span of about 5 decades now. I always remember that it was the continuous inspiration of Bipul due to which I took up my career in teaching and research rather than looking for a job for any other discipline after my MSc. I vividly remember those days, those university golden days during the period of 1971 to 1973. I cherish the memory so much because we were so young at that time and we looked at everything with young minds. The university was young, the teachers were young, and the surroundings was virgin. We enjoyed so much with all of our wonderful batchmates because they were so friendly, so witty, so innocent and selfless. Bipul was extraordinary and a front runner in every facet, be it studies, be it games and sports, be it so-called adda, or be it cultural activities. Dear audience, you will be surprised to know how serious he was in every front. He stood first in MSc with record marks since the inception of the university. He was the champion in games and sports and was a regular and very enthusiastic partner of all cultural activities, including recitations of Bengali poems. In studies, he was so serious. I remember a story that he had undertaken a course on shorthand before joining MSc, such that he could take class notes properly without missing any single word uttered by a teacher. In those days, we had annual exam systems and we had to write answer of broad questions in the exam. In most of the cases, most of the students actually could write 20 to 30 pages of answer scripts in 3-hour exam time, whereas Bipul used to write 50 to 60 pages, and for that he had to develop fast writing skill. After the class hour was over, most of the students returned to hostel, but Bipul used to go straight to the library to prepare notes on the topics which were taught on the same day. He used to prepare exhaustive study materials for each topic, consulting a large number of reference books from the library. We looked up and used to consult those study materials as well, while I myself used to reduce, modify, and rewrite some of the study materials prepared by Bipul to make it more cogent for me. Most of the students used to reduce them up to 20% drastically, because these were so heavy for them, keeping only the important points unspoiled. After the completion of MSc, Bipul started research on the investigation of Indian medicinal plant to search for anti-cancer products. His PhD examiner was Dr. George Pettit, the director of Cancer Research Institute, Arizona State University, USA. And he was so impressed with his work that he invited Bipul to join his research group as a postdoctoral fellow in USA. In subsequent years, Bipul has proved his worth in both academic and industry and got elected in top positions in IUPAC, that is International Union of Pure and Applied Chemistry, which is the largest global body for chemistry professionals. Incidentally, I would like to add that in the cultural front, he has also done excellence in audiovisual recitation of poems, which has been broadcasted by leading television channels of Kolkata. And this is a hobby in which he is still continuing to perform. I am indeed very happy that I got Bipul as my close friend, and I wish him all the best in his future endeavor. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Shapun. Shapun was my classmate in MSc. He's a very intelligent and a brilliant student. So in those days, after passing MSc, people are looking for different jobs like State Bank probationary officers and like other types of jobs. But I insisted, Dr. Shapun, that with his intelligence and knowledge of chemistry, he must pursue PhD and be in the academic profession. And I'm very happy that Shapun continued with that. And thus, very recently, he got the Lifetime Achievement Award for contribution to chemistry from the Association of Chemistry Teachers of India. So I'm really very proud of my friend, Dr. Shapun. And Shapun was a very dynamic fellow. And one incident I remember, that he used to come to the hostel rooms after night and spend time with all of us. And he was the last person to leave the room. So people gave him the name Thick Glue. That is, wherever he's going, he will never leave from that room. So Shapun was my close friend, so I can speak about all these things. I am really very proud that he has got the Lifetime Achievement Award. Thank you.
Wow, it's good to know from you got a college friend, university friend sharing how you guys did together in exams also. Nice message. Thank you very much, Professor Saha. Thank you. Now we have another guest user present here, Mr. Manikam Natarajan. He's a former colleague of Dr. Saha when he was at the NAC Industries. Mr. Natarajan is former Executive Vice President, NAC Industries. Currently, he works with the NATCO Pharma. Mr. Natarajan, please. Can you open your speaker, please?
I've been working with Dr. Saha for more than a decade. I had the good fortune of to know him, work with him. During this 10-year association, one thing stood out was his passion for chemistry and teaching. I really appreciate I vividly remember the efforts he has taken to introduce green chemistry into our portfolio of products which we are manufacturing in the company. So Dr. Saha took the initiative and drove the project for converting many of this chemical formulation to greener and environmentally sustainable ones. That's a great contribution not only for the company and for the industry also. In these days of sustainable agriculture getting more and more traction, I hope Dr. Saha will continue to contribute to that in various forms. The second part of it is he has been also a very active participant in the management group meetings. As a colleague, I can certify that. And he has contributed to the strategies of the company, how to shape it up future. And I also know Dr. Saha has been involved with developing a futuristic curriculum for Indian chemistry students. He has been involved in some other projects with the local IICT here, Indian Institute of Chemical Technology, and the Government of India. So I hope Dr. Saha will continue on that and bring the latest things, and especially the sustainable part of the chemistry to the curriculum of future Indian chemistry students. The last part is we also remember him as a person who's actively participated in all the cultural activities. He has been, for his age, we were really wondering many times how he is so active at this age of 60 plus, doing the dramas and mono actings, and of course, his famous poems. I wish Dr. Saha all the best for the future, and I hope he will continue to contribute to the sustainable chemistry development in India. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Manikyam, for your kind words. So you are a good colleague of me, and we enjoyed working for almost 10 years. Manikyam is a pass out from IIM Ahmedabad, and he is very highly knowledgeable, not only in his area, but in many other subjects. He is one of the few who has very nice sense of humor. So nowadays we are forgetting humor, but his sense of humor I still remember. So it is good that I could interact with Manikyam after a span of time, and thank you for participating in this webinar.
Thank you. Now, thank you, Mr. Rajan. Thank you very much for joining us today. May invite our next guest is Mr. Satya Mukherjee. He's based in Dubai. He's currently is a vice president of McGraw Global, and he's a former colleague of Dr. Saha Pfizer. Mr. Mukherjee, please. We'd like to hear about Dr. Saha with you in your own words. Thank you.
Hello, everybody. And with so many panelists from all over the world, good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to you all. My association with Dr. Saha goes back to 1984, when he joined Pfizer at its Kalyani plant near Kolkata as the Quality Assurance Manager. Now, whatever I had thought of talking about him, the qualities that he had have already been covered by most of my previous speakers. So I won't add to them, but yes, I would try to share some anecdotes that we had in during our association. So after joining as the Quality Assurance Manager, after some time he was promoted as Manager R&D and Quality Assurance. And I was only a production shift engineer then, having joined Pfizer in 1983. And I would not hesitate to say that he is one of the most unassuming persons I have come across in my entire career of 42 years. We were a very closely knit family in Pfizer. And we used to live in a place called Kalyani, which is a small place. And incidentally, Dr. Saha used to stay maybe about 70 meters from my house where I used to stay in Kalyani. And if my memory serves me right, he got married within a week of mine in 1985. He had already said that, okay, we all know Dr. Saha is a doctorate in chemistry. Dr. Saha has said that his wife, Dr. Supriya, is also a doctorate in chemistry. And he said that it was an arranged marriage. Well, both of them being from the field of chemistry, the chemistry between them was superb. And they had a daughter named Shreya from the marriage. Since I had a chance to interact with him so closely in the plant as well as off the plant, since we used to stay very close, we had seen him as a very caring son to his parents. Dr. Saha, whom I consider, by now you all know, a versatile genius, was a quick learner and showed immense flexibility and adaptation to the working style of Pfizer. See, I had joined this company at the project stage itself when the company was under construction. This bulk drugs manufacturing unit of Pfizer in Kalyani was meant for producing two anthelmintic drugs, that is anti-worm drugs, pyrantel palmoate for human beings and morantel citrate for animals. You know, how Dr. Saha improved in each stage of production of these products, not only as far as chemistry is concerned, the yield is concerned, even the very look of it. We were producing bulk drugs ultimately. It was going to be formulated at a different plant in Thane or Chandigarh. Say, we were producing pyrantel palmoate and one of the ingredients was disodium palmoate. And the pyrantel palmoate, the color of pyrantel palmoate should be a light yellowish, yellow. And the disodium palmoate that was coming to us and the product that we are producing was becoming a dark yellow. Even though the quality was fine, we thought this is not going to sell well. He came up with a brilliant idea. Let's add activated carbon during this fourth stage. And if I can imitate a slogan in India, what a brilliant idea, Sarji. And it really improved the color to very, very nice yellow color. That's how he used to develop, improve things in every stage. Dr. Saha, in his capacity as the head of R&D and QA, carried out a lot of tests and experiments that would increase the yields at each stage of production. As I said, he was an unassuming person. He had no hesitation in mixing with anybody, whether he is a lowly placed operator or a shift engineer or a manager. He used to conduct meetings with all employees of production department to explain the chemistry and involve them in the improvement process. We achieved significant improvement in the yield and quality, and this was appreciated by Pfizer International. Now, Dr. Saha was made production manager in 1989, Can you imagine a person coming from a research background in R&D, quality assurance, becoming a manager in production department in 1989? I used to work with him very closely. I remember vividly one day I ran to him to convey that the yield of Murantal citrate touched a record high under his guidance. And gosh, that was a moment to cherish. Thereafter, more bulk drugs like chlorpropamide and tinidazole were awarded to our plant. As Dr. Saha has said, we were producing diabetes as an anti-diabetes medicine, for which we needed chlorpropamide, and then for chlorpropamide we needed PCBS urea. So we produced PCBS urea first in this plant, converted into chlorpropamide, and then exported it out or sent to our other plants for making diabetes. This was all because of the capability that we had all exhibited under Dr. Saha's leadership. So here comes his leadership. Now, when we talk about Dr. Saha as being a man of knowledge in his specialized field of chemistry, which is indisputable, we cannot ignore his expertise in various forms of art and culture. One cannot forget his full-throated recitation of Bengali poems or a writer in him. He was a great organizer, be it a social function or an event in the office. One could repose one's faith in that man, Dr. Bipul Saha. I remember his leadership and guidance when we in Pfizer Kalyani conducted interlocation games tournament of Pfizer, which was a grand success. Dr. Saha left Pfizer in 1992 and I left in 1994. We have moved on with life. Dr. Saha has achieved more and more and established himself in the field of world chemistry, ably aided by his wife, Dr. Supriya Saha. I am fortunate to have known him from such close quarters, be associated with him and learn from him. My wife, Chandrima, joins me in wishing Dr. Saha and his family a blessed life. Thank you.
Thank you, Satyabrata. We had very good association in Pfizer, and I remember you as a very, very dynamic and action-oriented person. So we wanted to do a lot of improvements in Pfizer, and I needed somebody who will be implementing that. And Satyabrata was front runner in that. He took so much initiative to implement those changes, came out with brilliant ideas. And so I thought that he should be the production manager in course of time. And I'm very happy that he became production manager. I left, and then subsequently he has proved his worth in various organizations, and he is now a vice president in an international organization. I'm proud of you, and as I told you some time back that I teach in some management institutes, and I take your case as a case study to see, to show how an Indian person from an ordinary background can rise to an international position. So thank you, Satyabrata, for coming and sharing your viewpoints. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you very much, sir. Thank you very much, Mukherjee, sir. Okay, now I invite one more, the last speaker of today, Dr. Ranajit Tadulkar. He is a former senior research scientist at the Cooperative Institute for Research in Environmental Sciences and at the University of Colorado and Earth System Research Laboratory in USA. He's a former colleague of the Dr. Saha in BARC. You know, he lives in USA. It's a very midnight for him. You can understand that how much he respects Dr. Saha and value the friendship. May I invite Dr. Ranjit, please come forward.
All right, here you go. I'm here. It's you know, a lot of people people who actually spoke highly of him are much higher position, placed in much higher position compared to me. I am just you know, still collecting dust on the seashore, rather, I would say. But besides that, I will not describe too much of his academic accomplishment or managerial skills, because I do not know about those things. Only academic achievement, I can speak some of it, only in the beginning. I am seeing him across the screen after, I would say, 30 or half morning along with his family. And so I was going to go to a conference. So it was a very interesting experience. He suddenly showed up at our, you know, apartment. He knew, actually. So before going into too much of details, I would like to speak about his about him. And it is his day. It is not my day. So I really am honored, and it's a great pleasure to speak on his behalf and congratulate him for his being selected as an eminent scientist or eminent person by this organization, TechnoBiz and others. So he's already well known. I didn't know all this stuff before. I came to know only recently because we didn't have any contact as such for a long time, maybe nearly 4 decades. So both of us joined training school in 1977, that's BRC training school. And it is by itself, you know, getting an opportunity in that organization that is a premier research institute is a great fit by itself. I mean, everybody came there, you know, pretty well known. And in some way, they were extremely accomplished, actually. But he was the only one, came after a PhD. So we had a very high regards for him. In addition to his academic excellence, he also involved in sports, drama, including one-act play. He used to recite poems in front of us, and it was really captivating how he organized and all that. So in all, you know, one important thing is that his skill of time management, that was extremely important. And he would prepare everything in advance. So that is one thing. He would not keep for the last moment, always prepare in advance. And that's how he's not like organization. That was a great thing. And in terms of the, you know, training division, we had a 1 year, actually 10 months training. We all had to write a 37 test during that time. It was very stressful environment. And I can tell you during that time, we studied together and pick each other's brains and other colleagues' brain in the process. So and then after finishing that course, he came out on the top of the training school, and he was awarded the Homi Bhabha prize for that during his training, because of his training school. And he was able to join a division of his own wish. So that is very important and thing in his life. And after 4 years, he decided to go on a postdoctoral fellowship in Canada and I think US. And he worked with the Nobel laureate Derek Barton, and that really took off his career. After returning here, he briefly spent time with me. We lived together in my apartment. And after that, he left for Pfizer. And after that, very much all the connections are lost in some way. So that is about that. But I would like to give some anecdotes which are very important. One is that you know, we had to kind of rearrange ourselves after almost at the end of the training. You know, people demanded that I should speak about Mossbar spectroscopy for a couple of hours, Mossbar and NMR and all that. So it was after dinner, 10 to 12, and we did that. And without any notes or anything like that. So the people are free to ask any question and initiate discussions that way. It is not a lecture, but more like a discussion. So after my all the session was over, after a few days, he came and asked me a question. And I said, where did you find this question? I don't remember talking about it. He showed his note. This is how he was methodical in recording everything or documenting everything. And he said, yeah, this is what it is. We discussed. I said, okay, maybe I miscommunicated. Let us clear it up. And that's how we learn from each other. And this is one of the important things that we do. And, and his level of memory is extremely good. He reads something and he remembers. I have come across only one person in my life besides him, was my father. He had a kind of printed memory, same way almost. So I feel that there are only few people you encounter in your life like that way. And in addition to that, I would like to say another story, how we first met. Actually, I was me along with another person from the Indian Association of Science. I was a brief time in doing PhD at Calcutta in the PhD program. So we came for the BRC interview, and I came by myself. And there was an agreement that there would be a bunch of people from North Bengal University would be coming at the same time on the same day in the next train. So I got down at the other station and I saw it was a huge sea of people. I had no idea where I was going to go. So I thought that if these people do not show up, what I'm going to do, I'm going to get a next train ticket and go back to Calcutta. I'm not going to go for this interview. I'm not going to go to BRC. But fortunately, they came. And that's how it changed my whole life, I could say, in some way, interacting with him and working with him in training school. And if you are thinking of, besides this, if you're thinking of, let us say, the younger generation or upcoming generations, I would say do not follow anybody's path. Follow your own instinct and try to come up with a new idea, new thing. Always try to do something very new. And that is how it works always. Even if you think of a lot of great, they had teachers and they had like students and their children. They used to say, okay, even if you have one composition done, do it in a month, in a year. But that is how you start in the beginning. It's always, that is how everybody gets successful. Bipul also did the same way. He worked very hard. He always came up with a new thing. So this is how you go about in life. And I really thank you for inviting me to speak about you. And I saw the list of speakers and the people who spoke about you were in much higher level than where I am. So anyway, I'm very honored to be present in this seminar and the discussion with people.
Thank you, Ranajit. Okay, so I knew Ranajit from my training school days. So he was a brilliant chemist. I mean, he was he said that he's very much below all those people who have spoken, but I do not agree with that. He's a first gold medalist from Kolkata University. In BRC, he did fantastic work. I mean, he was in the multidisciplinary research laboratory. He did fantastic work, and then he went to USA, and USA found a person like him. So they took him for a lot of research work, and he has made a very significant contribution in R&D. If you see his list of publication, it goes into hundreds. So I'm very happy that Dr. Ranajit was here, and we met after a long time. And thank you for participating.
Okay, thank you very much, Dr. Ranjit. May I ask all the panelists